Howdy, 10th through 12th grade, Lima Christian School, Studio Art. It's Mrs. Garlock, right back at you. We are now on to our lesson number 1, but part B. So we're creating a character. Last time you should have watched, and I did a little reading of a story that was called Germs by Ross Collins. And today we're going to look at the characters that he's made, and we're going to discuss what makes for a good character. And then if we have time, I'm going to see on my clock here, we are going to redraw one of his characters using shape, size, location, and tilt, the things that you guys already know all about. So today what you'll need is a paper and a pencil, and I forgot to put on there also an eraser, and then we're going to get started. So pause this, grab your supplies, pencil, paper, and eraser, and we'll get started. All right, here we go. We have Ross Collins, the Germs book. So if you remember, I talked about simplification. When we look at these characters, what makes them really kind of cool is that, yes, they're different, and they have different pieces, parts on them. They're just not one shape, simple shape, but they are pretty simple. They aren't realistic. They aren't even trying to be realistic. They don't have a look of that they have total volume to them or something that looks like it's going to come right out at you. They're just simplified. Some of them, we don't know. Do they have eyes? Don't they have eyes? You know, they don't have elbows necessarily. They don't have what we would usually expect to see in something that's real, nor are they shaded to look real. They're very much simplified. The other thing that they have is what's called exaggeration. As we look at them too, things are exaggerated on them. Sometimes when we exaggerate things, we can make them bigger or we can make them smaller. That's going to make us focus on them. So if we look at exaggeration on these guys, well, on this one we already talked about it last time. The exaggeration on this is he's got some wings, but they're really tiny. Okay, so that's exaggerated. He's got teeny tiny eyes. This guy's got pretty huge eyes. When we exaggerate this one, we've given him a lot of eyes. So we have things that we're trying to make stand out a little bit. This right here, he doesn't have any legs. Maybe they are his legs. Maybe that means he doesn't have any arms. But these are really huge right here. So those are all things that have been exaggerated. Emotion. Your character, for it to be believable, has to have emotion. Unless you're going to do a robot. And then we all know they don't really have emotions, unless they're R2-D2. They will have emotions, and how you create that is usually what's going on with their face. So their eyes, their eyebrows, their mouth, but it's also body language. If you think about something that's slumped over, it looks like it's kind of weak or tired. So how you draw things is going to be important to give it a sense of emotion and believability. And then there's the unexpected. That's a lot of fun to throw in, and it makes your character memorable if it's something unexpected. We talked about these wings. If he had wings, that's kind of unexpected to begin with, but because they're really tiny, that makes it even more like, whoa, how does that guy fly? It's not expected. You wouldn't expect to have it. This guy right here, why in the world is he wearing a scarf? That's kind of the unexpected. This guy right here, all of them are pretty much unexpected because they look pretty bizarre. So think about ways you can add something that is almost, I like to think of it as like a little inside joke, or something that when someone looks at it, they think, oh my gosh, that's a funny little thing that they added. I wouldn't have expected it. And now we're going to redraw one of these characters. I'm going to do it kind of quickly. You guys already know about shape, size, location, and tilt. So I'm going to talk about it quickly. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause it. But we are going to draw this one right here because I want you to not just think about drawing your own, but what makes this artist able to draw something that is a character. So as you do it, you kind of learn how to draw it. So I started one over here, and I wanted to show you this. So we'll draw this really quickly together, but if we had drawn it just standing up, he would have all the same parts, but he wouldn't have that same, I would draw his arms and everything. He just wouldn't have that same emotion or that same character. So that he's kind of bent over or slumped over makes him a little bit, I don't know, it makes him a little bit scarier looking, a little bit, he's not rigid, he's kind of sly. So I think that's pretty cool. So when I'm looking at him as an artist, I have to use my art detective skills, and I look at his body and I say, well, his body to me looks like a shape. Is it a triangle, a circle, an oval, a rectangle, a square, a line? I like to look at it as a triangle, but it's long and thin and kind of bent over. So what I want you to do now is we're going to draw this triangle. I'll start with the base. The base would be here without his legs, because we're going to simplify this. So there's the base. Okay. Now we're going to start to draw this triangle, but instead of drawing it straight up, it's going to go up for a little while, and then it's going to take a curve. Okay. So go ahead and get this part in, and then it goes the same thing here. This is kind of thick through here, but then it gets pretty thin. And then that could be the triangle. We could just leave that triangle just like that. But here's what happens at the end of it. That triangle becomes a crescent, or this little curve around here. Okay. So shape, size, location, and tilt. There's absolutely a tilt on here. There's a tilt here, there's a tilt here, there's a tilt here. This actually starts going backwards. It doesn't go straight down. Okay. If we looked at doing his eyes, well, yep, the eyes are actually, these ones are pretty exaggerated. They're kind of big bumps on his head. And this one's a half circle. And oops, it takes place not there. It's a good thing I have my eraser. Take a look at where it takes place. It's as you come around the curve on the top of his head. So it takes place about here. Okay. And then we kind of cut that in half. And his other eyeball does not line up right with this one. It doesn't go right here. It is also a half of a circle, and it goes and touches the bottom of his head. So, and then he's got a little dot looking down. So we've got a good start on him. So I want you to go ahead, you can pause this video right now, and I want you to draw the rest of him. And I want to see what you guys come up with when you draw this character. And I would like everything on him, all the dots, and both of his hands, his little tail. See how well you can do it. Remember to use your negative space as well. See how big that is. See the little negative space between his tail and his leg, and his tail and his leg on this side. And I want to see what you guys come up with. Get it drawn, take a picture of it, send it to me, and I'll have that information on your assignment too. Love you guys, and let me see what you guys can do. See ya.